15 Coronation Street theories on who ought to die in Corriedale crossover. Will any of them peg it? Corriedale is most effective a month away, and this indicates Coronation Street fanatics are fearing the fates in their favorites. However, who ought to die? So aways. The names showed for the crossover are Corrie's Vicky Myers and Emmerdale's Danny Miller. But which different actors ought to be part of them, and ought to their characters be vulnerable to loss of life with inside the big Corriedale stunt? Here are all of the theories on who ought to meet their maker so aways. 1. Becky. Becky Swain is the cutting-edge villain of the Cobbles, with fanatics predicting that she'll discover a manner to fit herself into the crossover episode. Were but to discover simply how deep Becky's corruption goes. However, it is clean she's now no longer a great egg. It is frequently the manner in Soapland that villains meet a sticky cease simply as their internet of lies starts to unravel. With Becky's spouse Lisa being showed to seem with inside the episode, it has been counselled that Becky is probably the only to die. Yes, possibly it'll be for actual this time. One fan counselled, anyway my principle is that Becky receives killed with inside the Corrie x Emmerdale crossover. Could this be the final poetic justice for the female who faked her personal demise as soon as before? 2. Billy. It has been showed that Daniel Brocklebank's Billy is ready to go away the cleaning soap with inside the coming months. And reviews advocate that he will be killed off from the cleaning soap. With Billy being at the Cobbles for 11 years, his demise for the duration of Corriedale could truly have a big effect at the cleaning soap. It could be a heartbreaking cease after the entirety he has been through. Specially dropping Paul to MND. It's been stated that Billy will depart as a part of an issue primarily based totally storyline. However, ought to this have any component with inside the crossover episode? One fan on Reddit wondered, isn't Billy leaving round this time, and I suppose he dies? I cannot see him simply leaving except he comes to a decision to move to a little missionary work. 3. DD. Chanique Sterling Brown these days introduced that she's determined to bow out of the ITV cleaning soap as DD Bailey after 3 years. She hasn't but shared how her go out will play out. However, it is anticipated to be seen. But could the cleaning soap cross as a ways as to kill her off? Losing DD would go away a big void with inside the Bailey-owned circle of relatives and the street's ethical center. A fan online wrote, could be DD, however I'd be quite amazed in the event that they kill her off. Another predicted, DD ought to die, then we'd have a storyline of the Bailey guys citing orphan Layla. But I suppose they would go away it so DD can come returned. 4. Abby Webster. Abby Webster has simply cut up from Kevin and is courting Carl. But she's unaware that Carl is likewise napping with James Bailey. Abby is a survivor, having clawed her manor returned from rock backside a couple of times. However, has she ultimately run out of luck? Is there an area for her at the street as soon as the fact comes out, or ought to she die? One individual stated, I do not see everywhere for Abby to move as soon as the Carl stuff is discovered, so I suppose she'll be leaving. 5. Carla. Now, this will be a huge loss, however a completely memorable one, with Carla's associate Lisa showed to be worried with inside the cleaning soap crossover. Ought to she locate herself stuck up in something that ends in her demise? Could she be the cleaning soap sacrifice in question? I suppose the writers could be courageous, possibly too courageous to kill off the manufacturing facility queen. A involved fan counseled, must admit I even have a niggling fear that it is Carla and that is what all of the Swaller rollercoaster has been main to. 6. Todd. In different regions of the street, Todd Grimshaw is being coercively managed and abused via way of means of his associate, Theo Silverton. Theo has been turning extra violent these days, with a few fanatics stressful for pretty a while that the storyline may cease with Todd's demise. It is a terrifying notion that Todd's getaway is probably reduced brief via way of means of a sad accident. Or worse, that Theo is the purpose he's with inside the crash. Someone asked, maybe Todd, could Theo in a healthy of jealous rage by accident kill him? Or Billy? 7. Rita. The demise of a cleaning soap legend would go away fanatics sobbing and could really have a big effect at the street going forward. We cannot trust we are even announcing this, however it's been cancelled that Rita ought to die with inside the episode. Please no, surely the display would not ruin our hearts like that. One individual asked, Rita possibly, whilst any other added, perhaps Rita comes to a decision she has had enough. Dies in her sleep. 8. David. David Platt is a real Corrie icon, with Jack P. Shepherd having been at the cleaning soap for 25 years. He had a close to dying revel in advance this 12 months whilst he became hit through an automobile. However, luckily pulled through, but may want to David die this time around. David is the cockroach of the road. He survives the whole lot, however everyone's success runs out eventually. We recognize David is and he did live to tell the tale, a broom with dying in advance this 12 months. 11 Though I do absolutely wish it is now no longer him, given he is my favorite man or woman once more now. One Reddit used commented. Another exclaimed, "New, now no longer David, would be devastating." 9. Tim. A very last proposal is that Tim Metcalf may be the only to die. He's a fan favored, and his dying could absolutely damage Sally. The notion of Sally without Tim is frankly unbearable. They're the comedic coronary heart of the show. One proposal said, Tim I wish now no longer. However may want to it's. Another viewer replied, this is it, when I think about famous characters. I do not actually need any of them to be killed off. I wish it is now no longer Tim too. 10. Lisa Swain. One man or woman in order to certainly seen with inside the crossover is DS Lisa Swain. Considering she's a detective, she'll maximum possibly be on the scene with regards to the huge automobile coincidence stunt taking place. Vicky Meyer's Corriedale casting became showed along Emmerdale's Danny Miller's multiple months ago. And, with one of these huge stunts set to take place, it approached that we cannot rule Lisa out with regards to man or woman deaths. Dying with inside the line of obligation suits the tragic noir of her man or woman perfectly. One fan on X wrote, bookmark me now, that is finishing in a full circle second of Lisa getting gravely injured. There's something darkly poetic approximately her being the cop mum who may without a doubt die with inside the line of obligation. 11. Tracy. Tracy Barlow is likewise set to characteristic with inside the crossover, with lovers being given the hazard to vote on a man or woman pairing they had want to see play out on display. She has the hazard to pass paths with Ross Barton. The man or woman's voice also can be heard with inside the latest Corriedale trailer. Calling for help, she's a survivor, however that scream sounded genuine. But, will she get killed with inside the large automobile pile-up? 12. Kit Green. Kit Green additionally pops up with inside the Corrie trailer. 11 Though handiest in a blink and you'll miss him. Barely fuzzy shot. He's proper there with inside the chaos. Doing his quality action hero influence even as attempting to drag crash sufferers from the cars. Of course, Super Kit continually thinks he is the person for each job, commonly due to the fact his ego enters the room 10 minutes earlier than he does. His conceitedness may sooner or later write a check his frame cannot cash. But this time, may want to his determined want to play the hero without a doubt placed him with inside the firing line. 13. Roy. Roy Cropper may want to quickly locate himself sharing display time with Nicola King, and honestly, what a assembly of minds that could be. Between the pastries, the coffee, and Roy's enthusiasm for bats, they had have sufficient small communicate to fill an entire crossover episode. But Roy's capability cameo in Corriedale additionally approach he is probably stuck up with inside the looming crash storyline. And even as we would fortunately wrap him in bubble wrap and escort him anywhere personally. The opportunity of our loved Cafe King being everywhere close to danger. If they contact a hair on Roy's head, there could be riots. Let's simply say, we are nervously clutching our Roy's Rolls tote bags. 14. Kirk. Kirk Sutherland may want to quickly be interacting with Sam Dingle, with the characters sure to offer us a few light-hearted comical alleviation from the hard-hitting and emotional automobile coincidence scenes. But may want a Kirk's smiling face quickly be robbed of its joy. Often the maximum heartbreaking deaths in soaps are those with the purest hearts. We're teary-eyed simply on the prospect. 15. Carl Webster. Carl Webster is maximum possibly to be at Debbie's wedding ceremony, seeing as Debbie desires each of her brothers to stroll her down the aisle. But Carl's making plans on taking Debbie's cash and fleeing his lifestyles with Abby to move again to Germany. The dodgy villain wishes to get his comeuppance as opposed to jetting off and escaping the mess he is prompted. Live through the sword, die through the automobile crash. But
thanks for watching and stay tuned for more movie spoilers next week. Goodbye and see you again.